Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts. I'm Amy Vandegrift with the League of Women Voters, bringing you this public information voter service program. These 2020 general election interviews are made possible through Capital Community Media with remote technology and in collaboration with the Leagues of Women Voters of Oregon and Marion and Polk County. For this race, all candidates were invited. Candidates did not receive the questions developed by the League of Women Voters, AAUW, or neighborhood associations ahead of time. The candidates were asked to prepare a 3-minute statement telling about themselves, their qualifications, and their vision for the office if elected. I would like to now ask candidate Danny Jaffer, who is running for the office of Polk County Commissioner, Position 1, to share his opening remarks.
Hello, I'm Danny Jaffer, and I'm asking for your vote to be our next Polk County Commissioner. First, I want to say thank you to League of Women Voters, to Capital Community Media for providing this opportunity to speak to everyone. Thank you very much. I also want to take the time to express my sincere concern for those who have suffered greatly in the past few weeks due to these horrible wildfires. My sincere hope is that you are all settled soon and are able to return to the start of rebuilding homes, businesses, and lives. Additionally, I do want to thank all those from neighbors to firefighters and other first responders and those who have opened their homes to help. Enough cannot be said about the generosity of Oregonians during a time of need, particularly when we are already in the midst of the greatest pandemic in 100 years, and the heroic efforts by many throughout this crisis. I salute you all. Thank you for your service. Polk County is a great place, truly, with beautiful landscapes and hardworking families. You all deserve to be heard and to have your concerns addressed. And we all deserve to have a say in what direction the county goes. Unfortunately, many people are not being heard. Many are not getting a say. Sadly, Polk County has fallen into a form of political nepotism that has closed the people out. In recent years, we've seen several duly elected officials resign midterm, expressly leaving just a few officials to select and okay their hand-picked replacements without a vote of the people, and thereby anointing them as the incumbent for the next election. We currently have an assessor, a commissioner, and even our sheriff who have benefited from this process. And whether or not these are good people up to the job, and whether or not this should be concerning to any voter, regardless of party. I believe that we need to correct this. We all deserve to have a say in the choice. I am asking you to help change this system by voting for me. I grew up here. I went to school here. I left home to join the U.S. Navy from here. I currently serve as the president of the Lucky Mute Domestic Water Cooperative right here in Polk County. I've served the local food bank, YMCA, the Lions Club, Polk County Tourism Workshop, among others. I believe in service. That's how I was raised. Service to community, to family, to country. I've spent most of my life in one form of service or another, and during these trying times, I choose to continue serving. I'm asking for your support and vote. I promise I will do my absolute best. As a member of the U.S. military, through war zones, the war on terrorism, numerous disaster and humanitarian assistance missions, I learned leadership and management in crisis. I know what it means to serve, to work together, to get things done. These are trying times. Wildfires, a pandemic, homelessness, movements for social justice and equality, challenges to businesses, farms, and forests, all while our economy is taking a massive hit. Leadership is required in a way that we have not seen in 2 generations, and I believe a leader should sacrifice before others. This is why I choose to run and why I will voluntarily cut my tax-supported commissioner pay by 25% and have that money go to community development and public health so we can get the recovery we need. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jaffer. Now, let's do some questions. And as I said, these were set up by several groups. Considering the increased need in communication service in such areas as online education, remote health care, and access to county services, what can Polk County do to make technology more accessible in rural areas?
Thank you for that question, because that is something that I've been talking about for 10 years. The biggest thing the county can do is incentivize a reason for providers to get those services out there. Quality, high speed, broadband internet capability and communications is really becoming the backbone of everything we do, from education to commerce to medicine. And whatever the county can do to incentivize either private corporations, or in some cases, such as like MyNet out of Monmouth and Independence, which has now moved over into Dallas as well with West Valley Fiber, we can expand out into the county and work a system out, and hopefully for most everyone get fiber optic cable down some of those country roads. It's as important as the rural electrification project was back in the 30s. And whatever we can do, we should do it, because this is the future of how we're going to conduct, as I said, business, education, and medicine.
Adequate maintenance of city and county roads can be an issue. What are some of the short and long-term strategies you want to see done to address transportation issues?
Well, in the short term, what I'd like to see is some cooperation, greater cooperation between the cities and the county in order to get some of these things done. We do have county roads that some people feel like if they're in the city, well, why should I worry about the county roads? And roads in the city that people in the county go, why should I worry about city roads? We're all paying taxes. We all use those roads. We're paying our fuel taxes. We need some cooperation to make sure we can get the lowest costs available in order to do repairs and improvements. So that's the short term. The long term is we really need to have a very comprehensive system about what our traffic safety and what our roadway maintenance and safety is going to be in the county. Some of the things are obviously pushed by the state, supported by the state, and we need to address those issues there. Things like the Cloud Corner Road intersection, which I will be upfront and say that I support the idea of a roundabout there. I think that's a very safe way to move traffic. Having lived in other countries or been in other countries in my military career, I've seen how effective they are and how they actually lower the incidence of serious accidents. I also think we need broader shoulders on much of the county roadways. We have places where shoulders have gone away. And so for folks who are riding bicycles or have some other form of transportation that's not a 2-ton vehicle, it's not necessarily safe out there, but that is the only way to get from, say, Monmouth to Dallas. So we need to look at those opportunities to improve roadway safety for vehicles other than motorized vehicles, but also find ways to construct dedicated spaces for those non-motorized vehicles as well.
Okay. What actions should Polk County take and commit to in order to reduce greenhouse gases and meet state goals?
Well, for starters, a very simple thing for the county to do is to start looking at their fleet of vehicles and seeing how many of them can be replaced or converted to run on fuels other than fossil fuels, or at least the worst polluting fossil fuels. There was a move a few years ago where the sheriff's department went to propane for their vehicles, or natural gas, and I think that's a successful way to go. That helps to reduce those things. But the long term is to start looking at alternative energy for those fleets of vehicles, for the ones that make sense. There's nothing wrong with that. And you look at somebody like Amazon, who is building a fleet of vehicles that are all going to be electric. That makes a lot of sense, particularly in an area like Oregon, where we're for as compared to the rest of the country, we're pretty electric rich here. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And the other thing is we need to support those incentives and those ways that we get those emitters of greenhouse gases to cut back and to provide them a way, provide them the education so that they can actually be doing things that are less harmful to the environment and actually in many ways be beneficial.
Okay.
More green space.
Assuming there may be cuts in revenue and increase in needs, what are your financial priorities for Polk County's budget?
Financial priorities right now are dealing with the pandemic and actually some fallout from these wildfires, and then the community development that's going to take place after that. So public health is very critical. We're in a situation where, we thought in March or April that this pandemic was going to be about the worst thing we could see, and then all of a sudden we get into September and we've got wildfires as well. So not only is it public health from the physical side, but also the mental side, because these are trying times. This can be rough on people's psyche. So I think that's an area that we should not look to cut, but in fact should be looking to increase the amount of resources that are going to. And then community development, as I mentioned earlier, that is the avenue for reconstruction, rebuilding, and actually it goes with the last question about what can we do to reduce greenhouse gases. That's the organization, or that's the department of the county that's tasked with and should be at the forefront of helping to make those changes. And so as we do rebuild and as we do recover from wildfires and coronavirus, we should be looking to make things better and less dangerous to everything.
What concerns are there for Polk counties regarding water quality, and what plans do you have to address it?
Polk County, like just about every place else in the state of Oregon and pretty much throughout the country, is in a situation where the rights to water are finite. And water is a finite resource. My big concern, more than anything else, is the fact that people need to realize that it's a precious resource and they need to treat it as such. We need to increase our capability to take water that has been contaminated in one way or another and recycle that into usable water for many things. That's number one. Number two is we need to look at reduction of what we are using water for, or the amount of water we're using on certain things. I am deeply involved with the water district here in Polk County, and we're looking for ways to make things more efficient. In our water system and water systems throughout the country, there's always a leakage rate. And that leakage rate can go from 10% to 25% of the water that's being pumped. So we're always looking for ways to improve, for ways to reduce our leakage, for ways to reduce our requirement for pumping. And a lot of that comes from conservation at the end source. And so these are things that I think we can do, and I think the county has to be aware and has to be proactive about this, because we will find ourselves at a water deficit at some point with the way that the climate has changed over the years. And the fact is, we're not as wet as we used to be, and we are not as cool as we used to be. I mean, we're cool, but not that kind of cool.
Due to the recent crises, have they revealed major gaps in the county's emergency services? If so, how would you address them?
I think maybe it didn't necessarily reveal them in Polk County in particular, although something that's been stressed throughout all of these different crises is communication. And we can always do a better job. We always have to see how we can broaden our communication capability. And I think that would be the number one thing. We have good personnel. There are good personnel within the county, good personnel within the cities, and good personnel within the state. that can handle these problems, but we have to be able to communicate with them and communicate with those who are in need in a way that is efficient, timely, and meets the needs of everyone. So that would be my biggest concern, is making sure that we look to where our communication can be improved and our capabilities for communicating outside of the county can be improved.
Okay. What is your proposal and strategy for the formation of a transitional center for homeless teens?
Well, I think that's a great idea. My position is I'm in favor of it. And
Okay.
uh, whatever we can do, uh, it's a serious issue. And unfortunately, it's hidden from view much of the time. But whatever we can do, to bring families in to help address the need, and because it's so important for how these teens go on and who they become later in life. And if you're not stable in your housing situation, it's very difficult to be housing in your work situation or your education situation. And without those solid foundations, it's very hard to succeed. And it's very hard to be someone who's a real, genuine contributor to everything we would like to have happen. So I would be in favor of it. I would work very hard for it, and would welcome anyone who's got a good idea about that.
Okay. We have just a bit more time. One question: what are some unique Polk County conditions that would affect your decisions?
Unique Polk County. I'm sorry, say that again. Unique.
That's all right. Unique Polk County conditions that might affect your decisions.
Well, yes. Well, there's some things are very unique. Like one of them is our agricultural base, and that absolutely has to be taken into account. We have, aside from the fact that we're growing all kinds of grass seed and hazelnuts, that would probably be where I'd be, and then our environment as well.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny Jaffer, for our interview today and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you very much. I really, again, appreciate this opportunity. I'd like to hear from the voters. I have a email address, vote4, that's the number 4 in the middle, Jaffer. So vote4Jaffer@gmail.com, or you can give me a phone call, 503-838-1273. Please leave a message. I will get back to you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
We want to thank Capital Community Media for their time and their expertise in creating this program and making it available across the state through YouTube and Vote 411. Thank you to the several Leagues of Women Voters, leagues, the American Association of University Women, and the Salem City Club for being interviewers and suggesting questions. And thank you to the public for watching. Your vote counts in order to become a more informed voter. For voter information, including dates, registration, candidates for state and local areas, and for ballot measure information, go online to vote411.org. You have until October 13th to register to vote, with ballots being mailed beginning October 14th. November 3rd is Election Day. Please remember that postmarks don't count. All ballots must be returned on or before November 3rd. Elections matter. It makes a difference, so remember to vote, because your vote counts. Thank you.